Welcome to Books and Coffee Chat, the podcast where we dive into the stories you love, the characters you can't stop thinking about, and the plot twists that leave you speechless. Every week, grab your coffee and join us for real, fun, and spoiler-free conversations about books that everyone's talking about. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're stepping into a world of, well, blinding Hollywood lights, but also some really deep shadows. We're talking about Evelyn Hugo.
Evelyn Hugo. A name that just screams glamour, scandal, and those 7 husbands.
Right.
An icon.
Exactly. You asked us to really get into her story, this life that seemed crafted for the gossip columns. But what if the Evelyn Hugo everyone thinks they know was, just part of the performance?
And that's really the heart of it today, isn't it? Evelyn Hugo, this carefully constructed enigma for decades. A masterclass in how history, or at least public perception, can be written and rewritten. Our mission here is to peel back those layers. Because, and this is fascinating, at 79, Evelyn decides now is the time to tell the real story, the true history.
Right, but she doesn't pick some famous biographer.
No.
She chooses Monique Grant, a relatively unknown journalist.
And here's the twist.
Yeah.
The tell-all book. It only gets published after Evelyn's death.
And Monique gets all the money. Millions. So knowing Evelyn's legendary control over her image, her narrative, what does that choice tell us? Why Monique? Why wait until death?
It suggests, I think, that Evelyn wasn't just looking for someone to write down facts. She was looking for a specific kind of understanding, maybe even empathy.
Okay.
And that gives us this, unique challenge, doesn't it? And a privilege, really, to explore a history where the subject herself is setting the terms right up to the end. It forces you to look at how tangled public persona and private truth get, especially back then.
The golden age of Hollywood image was everything.
Absolutely. Personal lives were policed, identities were molded. We're talking about a history that was meticulously curated, and we're about to see the version that history usually tries to bury.
So where does this Hollywood giant even start? Not with glamour, actually. Our deep dive begins way back in Hell's Kitchen, New York. Pretty rough beginnings.
Yeah, impoverished circumstances, a far cry from the mansions later on. But the sources say even young, like 14, she had this incredible beauty.
And she knew it.
Oh, absolutely. She possessed this almost unsettling awareness of its power. It was her way out. A stark reflection of the limited options for women in her time and place, historically speaking.
And the first step, marriage, at 15.
To Ernie Diaz.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, this wasn't some teenage romance. The book paints it as purely transactional.
He gave her a ride to Hollywood. That was the deal.
Exactly. He wanted a beautiful wife. She wanted out of Hell's Kitchen and a path to something bigger. Ambition was the engine, not desire. It really highlights the historical reality, the choices women like her faced. Marriage as a tool.
And Hollywood, it didn't just welcome her, it remade her.
Yeah.
Completely.
Oh, the transformation was drastic. It wasn't just acting classes, Her name changed. Evelyn Hugo, that was her mother's name.
Right.
Dyed her hair blonde, slimmed down, fixed her teeth. They even made her lose her New York accent. And, crucially, stopped speaking Spanish. Wiped away her Latina heritage for the screen.
And fabricated a whole new past.
Completely. Suddenly she has this construction worker dad, a mother who died tragically, loves tennis, swimming, even a St. Bernard named Roger.
Wow.
It's not just image polishing, it's a total erasure of her actual history to fit this Hollywood ideal. A required act of self-annihilation, really.
The studios demanded conformity.
Precisely. Actresses in that era, they had to fit these narrow archetypes, often at the cost of who they really were. Evelyn was molded to be, what was the phrase? Naive and erotic at the same time.
Easy to like, hard to know.
Exactly. A perfect star. Comfortable embodying whatever the world wanted her to be. She became a master at it, suppressing her real self, her real history, for the cameras. A deliberate fabrication for public consumption.
It's just incredible, that drive she had, even so young, understanding how to use what she had to get ahead within those, frankly, stifling historical constraints.
Her ambition is undeniable. But it also underlines the limited choices, right? The industry wanted a specific product, and Evelyn was willing to become that product. This reinvention, this calculated creation of a public history, shaped everything that followed.
And her relationships, oh boy. That's where the story gets even more tangled, revealing just how much historical pressures dictated her private life, too.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Don Adler, husband number 2.
Famous actor.
Right. And initially, this was different for Evelyn. Real passion, desire, something she hadn't felt with Ernie. But it turned dark. fast.
Domestic abuse. He couldn't handle her fame eclipsing his.
A sadly classic Hollywood story, magnified by the spotlight. His insecurity, fueled by her success, became controlling, then violent. But here's where Evelyn's cunning comes in again.
The fake miscarriage.
Ingenious and utterly heartbreaking, a PR strategy to deflect any suspicion about Don's abuse. Suddenly the headlines are, "Pray for Don and Evelyn." Public sympathy floods towards them.
She manipulated the narrative completely, used the media's own tendencies against them.
Masterful. She understood the Hollywood machine inside and out, even using her own trauma, or a fabricated version of it, as a shield. A performance for the historical record in a way.
But beneath all that public drama, the manufactured history, there was something real happening, something secret.
Yes. Celia St. James. The true love of Evelyn's life.
Another actress. It started as a rivalry, didn't it, on the set of Little Women?
It did. But then, this moment. A clandestine kiss in the laundry room. Evelyn says that's when everything changed, when the real connection sparked. But this love, it had to stay hidden, completely forbidden in that era.
And that leads to maybe the most complex arrangement of all.
Husband number 3, Harry Cameron, a producer. But this wasn't about romance either.
No, this is about survival and
And
family.
Exactly. Evelyn, Harry, Celia, and Celia's husband, John Braverman. They formed this secret quartet.
An unconventional family, 2 gay men married to 2 bisexual women.
Right. Publicly, they were America's favorite couple friends. Privately, they were creating a safe space in a world that would have destroyed them if the truth came out. The risk was immense. Homosexuality was illegal, careers would end.
Lives could be ruined.
Absolutely. So they built this alliance, this hidden family, bound by their shared need for discretion. It's an extraordinary example of creating your own support system when society offers none.
And they used their resources, didn't they? Supported LGBTQ plus causes anonymously.
They did, a quiet commitment to a community they couldn't publicly claim. And then came Connor.
Evelyn's daughter. With Harry.
Yes, and Connor became the anchor for this whole unconventional setup, the tangible center of their chosen family.
It really makes you think about the idea of chosen family, finding your people, building your life, even when history and society are pushing against you.
It's a powerful theme, finding authenticity in hidden spaces. But that constant juggling act, that tension between the public image and the private truth, it defined Evelyn's life, a hidden history unfolding beneath the headlines.
Even with their carefully constructed world, Hollywood kept throwing curveballs. Like that film, 3 a.m. in New York.
Oh, that was brutal. Starring Evelyn opposite her abusive ex-husband, Don Adler.
The film was explicit, scandalous. It cemented her vamp image.
Right. It was a calculated career move to boost her star power, make her seem dangerous and desirable. But the personal cost, it was huge, especially for her relationship with Celia.
Celia couldn't handle it.
It was a breaking point. Evelyn prioritized her career, her image, even working with her abuser, over Celia's feelings, over their relationship. It shows you the complexity, doesn't it? Survivor, strategist, but capable of causing deep pain. That's the conflict of living that fractured life, something history often glosses over with celebrities.
These relationships, they're just proof of incredible resilience, aren't they? The lengths people went to for love, for safety, in a world that just wasn't ready for them. It's kind of inspiring in a heartbreaking way.
Exactly. Even in the most restrictive times, people found ways, inventive, strategic ways to carve out authenticity. It required immense sacrifice, but they built connections that mattered, defying the historical norms.
Okay, so let's move towards the later years. The secrets start to unravel, the cost becomes clearer.
Well, the strain eventually became too much for Celia. The hidden life, Evelyn's constant focus on her public image. Celia leaves Evelyn.
That must have been devastating.
It was. The demands of maintaining that facade, that public history, while navigating a secret love, it just wasn't sustainable. Evelyn's ambition, the very thing that made her a star, also pushed away the person she loved most.
And later, there were other marriages, right?
Yes, eventually a platonic marriage to Robert Jameson, who was actually Celia's brother. They moved to Spain for a time. Yeah. But loss continued to stalk her.
John Braverman and Harry Cameron both died tragically.
And Evelyn's grief, especially at Harry's grave, it was profound. But the media, of course, misinterpreted it. They saw her mourning a lover, not grasping the true depth of that chosen family connection.
Another instance of public perception completely missing the private reality, the historical record getting it wrong.
Exactly. Even in grief, she couldn't escape the narrow lens of celebrity gossip. Her real relationships, her real losses remained hidden, footnotes in the official story.
And then, the biggest secret, the one she saves for Monique.
This is the climax, the earth-shattering revelation. Evelyn confesses she orchestrated Harry Cameron's death
Orchestrated it. How?
as a staged car accident to protect Harry and John Braverman's secret relationship. Homosexuality was still deeply stigmatized, even dangerous. Exposure would have ruined everything they'd built, potentially worse.
Wow, that's immense.
It is a morally staggering choice, born from this fierce protective instinct in a brutal historical context. But here's the twist that hits Monique directly.
Monique's father.
Monique's father, James Grant, was Harry's lover, and he was involved in the staged accident. Evelyn gives Monique a letter from James, confirming his hidden life, his love for Harry.
Oh my God. So Monique's own family history is tied up in Evelyn's deepest secret.
Precisely. It's a bombshell. It forces Monique to confront not just Evelyn's history, but her own, the secrets passed down, the impact of societal prejudice across generations. That all comes crashing down. That historical context isn't distant, it's intimately personal.
And suddenly, Evelyn choosing Monique makes so much sense.
Right. Remember that article Monique wrote about assisted suicide?
Yeah, Evelyn said it showed compassion, understanding.
Exactly. Evelyn saw someone who could grapple with life and death complexities, someone who wouldn't just judge, someone with the empathy to understand the why behind even the most shocking actions. She needed someone who could handle the messy, complicated truth, the real history, without flinching.
And Monique, this forces her own reckoning, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Learning about her father shatters her perception of her own past. It makes her reevaluate everything, including her own marriage to David.
She decides to divorce him.
Yes. It mirrors Evelyn's journey in a way. Shedding illusions, finding her own strength, her own authenticity. It shows that cycle of secrets and sacrifices and the toll they take playing out again.
Evelyn's choice of Monique was incredibly astute then.
It was. Monique's journey validates it. She learns that finding truth often means dismantling old stories, personal and societal. Evelyn's actions, however extreme, came from a place of protection against the harsh realities of history. And that's the core understanding, isn't it? People aren't just good or bad.
No, they're complex, shaped by their times, by the impossible choices history forces on them.
Exactly. It's a profound lesson in empathy and seeing the layers beneath the surface of recorded history.
So wrapping this up, what do we take away from Evelyn Hugo's incredible, tumultuous life?
For me, it's a testament to love, friendship, and that relentless drive for authenticity, even if it meant creating a masterful public illusion.
Yeah, that scandalous image she projected, it hid this deeply human story of needing family, connection, love, things that defied the historical boxes she was supposed to fit into.
And for you, listening, her story really pushes us to look past the surface, doesn't it? Whether it's celebrities or people in our own lives. Consider the hidden truths, the pressures people face, the courage it takes to be real, even if only behind closed doors.
It reminds you that every public history has countless private ones underneath.
Absolutely. So Evelyn Hugo perfected the public spectacle, didn't she?
She really did.
But maybe her ultimate lesson is that the real treasures aren't in the spotlight. They're in those fiercely protected connections, those quiet truths we finally dare to embrace.
That's beautifully put. It leaves you thinking.
What really stands out to you about her story, the secrets, the sacrifices, the love that history tried to erase, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What truths do we protect in our own lives, and what's the cost? And how much of history, the real messy human history, actually remains untold?
And that's a wrap for today's Books and Coffee Chat. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow book lovers. Got a book suggestion or a hot take? Drop it in the comments. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. See you next time, and don't forget, keep reading and keep